So Hygger sent me the updated version of this aquarium gravel vac. There was some issues with the older version, losing suction, and some other issues that I'm going to cover in this video. Now, I've actually reviewed this one once before, and there's some things that I do really like about it, and there were some things that I didn't really like about it. So today I want to compare these units side by side to see what Hygger really did improve on. So this thing is really just an all-around aquarium maintenance tool. It can pump water out of your tank, it can pump water into your tank, it could gravel vac, it could clean sand, you could just use it to polish the water, even clean your hardscape. But first, let's just use it normally. I want to see how it gravel vacs and how it performs in this tank right here. I'm going to try it right here in the front. And what's nice is nice on-off switch right here. And I'm just going to pump it, and wow, look at that. I do really like how the clear tubing, you can see the waste coming up through it. And this way you'll know when it's done. And then I would just keep going over to other spots. And that's pretty good. That's really doing a good job. You know, one thing I really do like about this is how it's got a sponge right here. So I've got a lot of really small fish that like to get in there, and shrimp, and I don't have to worry about them getting sucked up into that because that filter guard right there. This is something that I'd like to do is I use a baster, and what I do is I take this and I just want to kind of blow it down at the bottom there to kind of disturb anything that's on the surface and just suck the stuff right off the surface. But really the aquarium vac side of it works really good. I'm very happy with it. So one thing I gotta say is it is a little bit noisy, and that's the valve that they put in here to try and make sure that it doesn't air trap. And you can put your thumb over the top of it here and that'll quiet that down. Yeah, it's a little annoying, but they do air trap, and that's something I'm gonna try next. I'm gonna do a quick water change on this tank. No more lifting buckets over the tank and trying to pour into it. That's just way too much work. One thing I do want to say is that it does stop when you turn it off. Unlike the older version, it's because the siphon, it'll continue to run. One thing I will say about all these aquarium vacuums is that make sure you've really done a good job to drain this thing out, because more times than I care to admit that I've taken this out of the tank and spilled it all over my floor. And the idea is something to not leak. And that's one thing that I really liked about this was they changed this hose, because the older version had this hard plastic type of hose and would leak at this connection here. And anything that leaks in the aquarium hobby is an instant sign of a problem. So I like this, how they changed to this hose. Much better. So we're ready to pump back into the tank, and it's an easy transition. We're just going to slide this right out. We'll put that to the side there. And then you have this piece right here, which just goes to the bottom of your bucket with some suction cups. So this won't fall over. It's not going to fall out of your bucket. And obviously this gets longer. These are interchangeable pieces. I just have it set for this height. You can add 2 more to this, and it's pretty long. So just take this and we're going to slide it right on the bottom right there. And then we're just going to stick it right down in my pail right here. And then I'm going to take the hose and I'm going to pump back into the tank. And here's my little trick, and no problem at all pumping right back into the tank. The water flow is a pretty good rate, which is rated at 360 gallons per hour. So this will fill this tank pretty quick. And I'm sure that I could do this whole process in under 10 minutes. So we'll check the head height. Let's see. While I'm making a mess. It's got to be well over 6 feet considering it's coming off the floor. So as you see, it had no problem pumping water up to the top of the tank, which is a concern with some of the pumps. So I do want to say, now that it's in the bucket and running, it's not really making any noise. It was one of the tests that I had from before, where if you gravel vac and returned water back to the tank, would it really make a mess? And I kind of said, yeah, the gravel vacuuming probably isn't something you should do. It can't filter it out, but this new one has a new internal filter for the return flow. So let's see how it does. I'm kind of worried. Another no spill water change. Oh man. So a feature everybody loves is this little attachment right here. So you can kind of clean the stuff in the bottom of the tank. Let's say there's some uneaten food, or you don't really need to do a water change, but you're just trying to straighten up and clean up a little bit. That's where this is a really nice option, and the water goes back into the tank. One thing that I did see when I was unpacking this was that there's a barb now on the bottom of this, so the hose could go right on this. So let's say you were just surface cleaning and then you wanted to just pump out of the tank from there, you wouldn't necessarily have to change everything. You could add that there. The other nice option is to put the hose on there and redirect that flow, because when you're working in the tank, this heavy flow could be really disrupting to the aquascape, knocking plants or uprooting plants. So I really like that as a nice little upgrade option. It's these little things that are much better on this. And also the distance of the cord. It used to be a little bit further down, and this cord is actually a little bit longer than the previous model. So it puts it in a more comfortable spot. Definitely a couple improvements that make it a lot better. So what we were looking at doing here was, and I'm worried to do it, is if you gravel vac and you put it back in, and last time it put a lot of sediment back in. This time this filter is much bigger and has a lot more in there. So there's a big dose of, oh yeah, I'm not doing that again. So don't do that. So a major problem a lot of people commented about was it getting airbound and it not pumping, losing suction. So I never personally had a problem with this. I always would start the pump. Whoa, I would always start the pump with it in the water. And that's one thing, is if you notice here, I'm going to start in the water and it's going to prime, right? And if I take this out of the water and I lose that prime, but I stick this back in, you will get water to come out of that. That's the water trapped in here. And here's a great example of the problem with the cord, especially if I had it set short, how high I would have to reach to get it up into my hand. So if you started out of the water and you entered into the water and you went straight, it may struggle to start like that. And last night when I was doing it, I was able to repeatedly get it to not flow, have it totally submerged. I was coming in at a big angle like this, and I would stick it in there and it wouldn't work. So after many tries, I finally got it to do it. I got it to not pump water. So you can see it's struggling right there, and I basically at the minimum level now, I'll go more. It's eventually it ends up going, but it struggles to go, where the new design, it has no problem. As soon as it enters the water, it could pick it right up. And you know that it's priming because you can see the water in the tube. That's one thing that I was talking about before, was how this return flow, especially in a shallow tank like this, could be very disruptive in a lot of flow around the plants, which isn't really ideal. I definitely think it's a better design, and overall is much more sleek. And I do like the gravel vac feature just to kind of clean things up. But for the most part, I really think that pumping water out of your buckets into your tank and not making a mess and not making a spill mess like I did here is the advantage of this gravel vac. So if you like this review, hit that like and subscribe, and check out some of my other Hygger videos right here.